The United States Supreme Court heard oral arguments this morning on a critical case concerning tariffs. And it is going to be one of the first times this bench addresses the executive overreach that has become a trademark of convicted felon Donald Trump's regime 2.0. The Attorney General for the state of Oregon, Dan Rayfield, somebody that you guys know very well here at this channel, he was there this morning in Washington, D.C. He flew there from Oregon. Why? Because he was one of the states that was a coalition that brought the first lawsuit to challenge the unconstitutional and illegal reciprocal tariffs that Trump has imposed on trade partners and other foreign nations. And he joined me to be able to not only talk about that case, but other important litigation that he's handling right now. And joining me now is somebody who is not a stranger to those of you that join me at the Katie Phang News Channel, but I am thrilled that he's joining me on East Coast time. I know it's got to be a little bit of a difference for you, but it's the Oregon Attorney General, Dan Rayfield. Dan, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
So, Dan, I let everybody know in the intro that you haven't heard that you flew all the way to Washington, D.C. to go spend time in the highest court in the land, the Supreme Court of the United States, because you were a part of a coalition of plaintiffs that brought suit concerning the illegal and unconstitutional use of a federal statute by Donald Trump, who's now decided that executive overreach is kind of the thing for him to do. And his use of an emergency statute to be able to impose reciprocal, and I'll put that in quotes, reciprocal tariffs with trade partners and with foreign nations. Your kind of high-level takeaways on how it went this morning with oral arguments.
Well, first of all, maybe we wouldn't have flown out here. I just learned that you listened to that from the comfort of your home this morning. But it was a very important case. And we talked a little bit about this the last time I was on here. This is really a consistent approach by this president to try and gather more executive power. And I think when you listen to the terminology that was going on in the courtroom today, if you're not a lawyer, it can seem pretty overwhelming at times with like words like major questions, non-delegation doctrine. I think it's so much more simpler than that. It is Congress really created specific statutes for tariffs. And they had to do that because the Constitution gives Congress the only power to set tariffs. It's not that they gave a little bit to the president, a little bit to the courts, right? It's solely situated within Congress's power. And they gave a little bit of that power to the president, but with really safeguards for the economy. And so the justices were really grappling with that today. In this statute that no other president has used, an emergency statute, IEPA is what you'll commonly hear about. Is this an abuse of his power in a way that no other president has used? If you listen to what the federal government says, and I think it was even Chief Justice Roberts talked about it at the very beginning. It was like, well, federal government, you're saying you can tax anything or put a tariff on them. We're calling them hidden taxes, but you can put a tariff on anything at any amount for any length for any reason, and nobody can really review that. And that would be, too much power, given by Congress to the president, and which are really foundational issues.
So I always hope for intellectual honesty, Dan, when we deal with our Supreme Court justices.
You get the wrong person on that.
Well, look, I mean, I'm not naive, though. Let me be very clear. And the thing about the conservative justices is they love to live in the land of originalism, strict constructionism, right? This idea that if it's not in the statute, it's something that you really can't do. And it's pretty darn clear here that the statute does not include the word tariffs. And I don't mean to oversimplify it, but to the point you just made a couple of minutes ago, it kind of has to be there, right? I mean, if there was an intent by Congress to give the president of the United States the ability to be able to travel under this emergency statute and to do something like the tariffs that he has done, which, to be clear, have only hurt Americans, and doesn't mean just working class Americans. I'm talking all Americans have been damaged by this. Then Congress would have intended it and they would have put it in there. But it clearly is not included in the IEPA statute.
Yeah, and there's this phrase that you'll hear, judges or your lawyers throw around with the major questions doctrine, is that you can't hide, or you're not intending to hide an elephant in a mouse hole, right? And this is unquestionably the way that the Trump presidency is talking about this, an incredible, massive power. If you truly could set tariffs at 1,000% on maple syrup because you didn't like the way the hockey season was going here in America, right? I mean, that's a wild example, but that's the type of, odd results that you could have if you follow their logic. And they just didn't do that. And I think probably more appropriate, right, is that Congress actually contemplated all of these things. Hey, if we have a trade imbalance, what should we do? Oh, let's create a specific statute for that. Right, if we're threatening industries because there's an imbalance of your manipulations in the market, we've got specific statutes to address that. And the president didn't like those. Interesting thing is he used them in the past, used them in the first 4 years, not using them now. And so it's very bizarre to sit there and think that Congress would contemplate it in this one situation, use the right language, and then in a brand new statute, a very different statute, not even mention it. So I think, justices were grappling with that today, unquestionably.
I was surprised pleasantly to see this particular line of commentary that came from Neil Gorsuch, who we normally don't look to for expressing concerns about executive overreach, but he did warn of a, quote, one-way ratchet toward the gradual but continual accretion of power in the executive branch and away from the people's elected representatives in Congress. I mean, putting aside, I think, the impotency on the part of Republicans in Congress right now as we hit day 36, now historically the longest shutdown in American history, putting aside that congressional issue, I was, again, pleasantly surprised to see that Neil Gorsuch is acknowledging that there is kind of a slippery slope here when it comes to ceding more ground to what is supposed to be a co-equal branch of government.
Yeah, that was one of the most, I would say, intense portions of the questioning that Neil Gorsuch was going on. It was so subtle, but so powerful in the implications about that ratcheting of power that Justice Gorsuch was talking about. It was amazing to be a part of that conversation. I think it's very difficult at times. I think all of us will see a decision that comes out of the Supreme Court that we don't like, or we'll see one that maybe we do. And I think it's very easy in society to question the integrity of any elected official, anyone sitting on the bench. And I think we really got to avoid that. But what you really felt, it was palpable in that courtroom today for people that are doubting, where we are in society right now, is these justices were doing their absolute best to grapple with very difficult questions about how and what our democracy should look like, and how it was intended to be. It was a very heavy. I thought that was one of the most significant moments of that oral argument this morning. I think that Americans, if they could hear that and really hone in on what he was trying to get at, it would be really important for people to understand why that dangerous accumulation of power in the executive, why we tried to prevent that in the first place here in America.
So I will say kudos to your team at the Office of the Attorney General in Oregon for the incredible note that was posted in the media section of your website. I will say two things. One, I was stunned to see that Trump's tariff policies could tag Oregon businesses more than $1 billion, which is a huge amount of money, and one that I think people really need to appreciate. And that's just one state in our beautiful union. But then you also gave kudos to Ben Gutman for the work that he did as the Oregon Solicitor General. And I want to say, as a fellow trial lawyer, I appreciate you doing that, because I think that he did an exceptional job on behalf of the coalition of plaintiffs to be able to do these oral arguments. It's not easy to do SCOTUS arguments at all. And so my hat off to you, Dan, for recognizing the hard work here. I think it's a great way to maybe springboard to another important litigation that you spearheaded, again, as a part of a coalition of attorneys general and other concerning SNAP benefits. And the fact that we just talked about Oregon businesses facing more than $1 billion in losses, we have to talk about it in the context of just people in general in Oregon and across the U.S. facing the loss of SNAP benefits to the tune of 42 million Americans. Two separate federal judges have told the Trump administration, pony up the money. Trump administration says, we only have about 4.6 billion. That doesn't even fulfill half of what the month of November needs. Oregon is waiting for its money. What's next, Dan, when it comes to this case?
Yeah. And first, real quick, Katie, just on I want to talk about how all these cases, and you mentioned this, Ben Gutman was out front leading the charge. We have a lot of attorneys that are out front leading the charge on a National Guard case. They're kind of the shiny hood ornaments, but just also for people to know is you've got amazing staff that are working 60 to 80 hours a week in Oregon. You've got other attorneys that aren't necessarily doing the bright and shiny work of arguing the case in the Supreme Court. And those people are absolutely essential to making this work. And you have those folks in every attorney general's office across this country are working incredibly hard in ways where there is a sense of patriotism to the motivation behind what they're doing. And it's amazing to be a part of their team. Just know that this is huge teams in all of these states doing this. And the SNAP lawsuit is just another wonderful example of everybody coming together and recognizing a massive problem. And this is, there's some cases that can really frustrate you and anger you. And this is one that like just rises to the absolute top for me. But especially in the broader narrative of what's going on in this country where we are yanking, healthcare benefits. We've already decreased the amount of food assistance. There's people out there talking right now that we are going to be close to a period of hunger that, goes all the way back to the Great Depression. That's this trend that we're on in America right now. And then at the same time, you got tariffs increasing the prices of the things that people are buying, right? It is this affordability crisis, and we are messing with people's food. And hunger is not something that Democrats, Republicans should never tolerate. And no president in the history, that's right, in the history of this country has ever tried to leverage food assistance in this political way, in the way that they're doing it. And I get they say they don't have enough money. I disagree. I think that there's other steps that we may take along the way here pretty shortly to push even harder, because I don't think you can let people go hungry in America. That is absolutely un-American. That's not what anybody voted for when they voted for President Donald Trump. I know that for an absolute fact. It's just incredibly disheartening when you see so many people in need. And that we have to go into a court to say these things. These are like common sense things. If you could ask any kid at any table at dinner time across this country, and if you gave them these options, the answers are real clear. You release the money, you get as much of that money out the door as quickly as possible so that people can have food. I could ramble on for a while, Katie, on that, but it's very frustrating.
Not at all. And you are a gentleman by acknowledging that there are just legion of people that are working together professionally and giving support to make sure that this litigation gets across the finish line. It kind of dovetails, I think, nicely with something I wanted to ask you about, which was a resounding, what I've called Democratic dominance of results yesterday from Election Day across the U.S. And one notable win was in the state of Virginia, for example, Dan, where you had Jay Johnson, who won as the Attorney General in the state of Virginia. And I have been explaining to people that getting more Democratic attorneys general in office is a game changer, because this SNAP benefits litigation, if the Trump administration didn't say, hey, we're going to release these contingency funds for the purpose for which they were designed and designated, it's only the states that were a part of the litigation for the SNAP benefits, including yours in Oregon, that would have been the beneficiaries of these federal court rulings. It would have been the blue states, and the blue states that had the governors that joined, which is why it kind of shows the importance of making sure that our electeds in roles like yours are thinking about their constituents, regardless of party affiliation, in the states that they represent.
Yeah, it really changed the landscape and the importance of those elections, no doubt. It is, and I'm sure that weighed into all of the elections this cycle. I think what was really interesting to watch is we have this affordability crisis. You have this divide of wealth inequality, that permeates throughout all 50 states. And the real successful people were talking very succinctly about those issues and why it was so darn important, whether it was in the governor's races, whether it was in the mayor's race, or whether it was in the attorney general race. And how are we going to address these issues with different tools in different offices, right? As attorney general, we have an entirely different set of tools than, say, if you're the governor of the state of New Jersey or Virginia. And so I think it was very resounding to see what people are looking for right now. You had President Trump talking about how he's going to really help us economically, and he's done absolutely the opposite. And I think people feel betrayed by that. I know I certainly do.
There's other litigation that I always like to highlight that you're doing, the work that your office is doing, because while you're having to deal with the Trump administration, it's not like you're only focusing on certain things. And there's a couple of cases just very quickly that I wanted to take advantage of having you here to talk about. One of them deals with a lawsuit that you just brought 2 days ago, where you sued the Department of Education, or whatever the hell's left of it, let's be honest, right? Because the Department of Education is now deciding that they're going to play judge, jury, and executioner when it comes to student loans and forgiveness of loans if people who are the loan recipients end up going into jobs in government and nonprofits that the Trump administration has decided don't deserve it, either because they are, improper or not the right kind of jobs that you should be having. It blows my mind that they're trying to, disincentivize people doing public service, but that's exactly what they're doing. It's arbitrary, it's capricious, and it's illegal.
Well, and again, it's part of this bigger, broader plan. Why are we attacking students, right, with student loan debt, right? When you're starting off in life at a disadvantage, right? You are coming out trying to get a job in the hole. In some cases, these people have student loan debts, so they're half the price of a house.
Yep.
In circumstances, and that are trying to incentivize public service. There is a really I don't understand the rationality of why you want to go after things like food assistance, why you want to go after healthcare for the most needy. Why do you want to go after folks that really invested in themselves, right, and are trying to get off on the right foot? I would argue that from an economic perspective, we want to help these people get out of debt as fast as possible and get into a house, start moving forward in life. But we're just seem to be taking massive steps backwards. At the same time, you're doing these tax packages that are impacting, frankly, benefiting the wealthy folks, and all those tax benefits that could possibly help folks that are struggling, those sunset. So it's a real clear path and pattern that we're on right now.
Yeah, and I just wanted to highlight something that the Department of Education's rule, Dan, that we are talking about right now. They are saying that they are targeting jobs that have a, quote, substantial illegal purpose, those employers, for people that got these public service loan forgiveness. And the way that they're defining what's illegal are activities, for example, that support undocumented immigrants, which is something that we're all trying to be mindful of and trying to provide help for. Providing gender-affirming healthcare to transgender youth, promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, and engaging in political protest. It is clearly an attack also on people's ability to exercise their First Amendment rights. I mean, the fact that they're trying to gatekeep what people are doing for jobs, in my mind, is insane when people are trying to do something in public service. And last but not least, Dan, before I have to let you go, because I know you're wildly busy, I want to ask you about the other lawsuit that you just brought, which was just yesterday, because you don't sleep at all. And your office brought a lawsuit against Kristi Noem. I keep my pejoratives to myself. The Department of Homeland Security, Secretary David Richardson, and FEMA, because now, once again, the Trump administration has taken money that's already been allocated by Congress and earmarked for specific purposes, including for Oregon, to be able to be getting the money it needs for firefighters, first responders, law enforcement. And now the Trump administration says, sorry, we're not going to give you the money. Make it make sense.
You can't make it make sense. Even when you watch those videos in the airport of her, none of this makes sense. In fact, I think it makes less sense when you're doing that. But it's just this weird dynamic that we have right now, that the connection of the money that they're trying to cut, whether it's FEMA grants, wildfire stuff, it is... It makes absolute no sense. And it's things that universally, if you talk to Americans or Oregonians just on the street and you say, hey, is this something we should be funding? It's a resounding yes. And I don't know why they feel it is so important to hold these funds hostage. It makes no sense.
Well, it's like, listen, you talked about them weaponizing food. They're weaponizing infrastructure, right? And they're weaponizing disaster relief. I just read this article from the Oregon NPR about Columbia Memorial Hospital in Astoria, Oregon. And they were supposed to get money from FEMA to tsunami-proof a hospital, which provides health care and medical services to Republicans and Democrats and independents alike, right? And now FEMA's like, yeah, we're not going to give you the money for that. It just blows my mind that they are so short-sighted that they don't understand that this is not supposed to be hurting just the Democrats to, quote, own the libs. Like, there's a reason why your office is thoughtfully pursuing this litigation on behalf of all people in Oregon and not just certain.
Well, I mean, you think about agriculture just across the United States right now. I mean, a lot of the policies that the president is moving forward is hurting, frankly, his very own base. And for whatever reason, it is. I'm not sure that is fully resonating with people yet. But I think over time, I mean, we haven't even reached 1 year of this presidency. I think as this begins to sink in, I think you'll start to see, you'll start to see some Republicans push back. I mean, you're seeing it now on tariffs. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how it happens over the next, over the next year.
Well, I'm going to let you go before you keel over on me and they blame me in your office for having been responsible for that. But all kidding aside, I know you're wildly busy, as we have heard, but today was a really pivotal day because I feel like this was the test balloon, like the trial balloon for SCOTUS when it comes to reining in some executive overreach from Trump. And I'm proud to say that I know you, that you're leading the charge and that you're doing all this great work. So, Oregon Attorney General Dan Rayfield, thanks for being here and getting us caught up on all this important litigation.
Always fun to talk about this stuff with you anytime.
I appreciate it. Thanks. Katie Phang here. We launched the Katie Phang News Channel in partnership with the Midas Touch Network so we could bring you the latest in legal and political news. Straight, no chaser. So if you're a fellow truth teller, hit that subscribe button and share the word about this channel so we can build a high information America together. Some breaking news today. Donald Trump, not content to sit in his perceived victory in the 2024 presidential election, has decided to now file an 85-page lawsuit in federal court in the Middle District of Florida. So in Florida, it's divided into the Southern District of Florida, Middle District, and Northern District of Florida. In each of those districts includes specific counties. He's filed it in the Middle District of Florida. I don't know who the judge is that's been assigned to it yet, but I will tell you that the lawyers that have brought the lawsuit are the typical cabal of lawyers that Donald Trump uses down here in Florida to be able to bring these lawsuits. And we're going to get into the merits of this lawsuit or lack thereof in a second. But I wanted to let you know they brought this lawsuit. And the reason why it is such a just joke. I mean, and just don't take my word for it. I invite you to listen to other legal commentators that talk about this lawsuit, those that are brutally honest. And they'll tell you that this lawsuit is an absolute joke. It's such an absurd lawsuit. Such an absurd lawsuit that under the federal rules of procedure, there's this concept called Rule 11. It's basically you file something that's so frivolous that you should be sanctioned as the lawyer, the litigant too, but the lawyers is really, the onus is on the lawyers to not file bullshit. To not clog the legal system with bullshit, to not file things that are a waste of freaking time. And listen, this is not the first time that Trump has been sanctioned under Rule 11 for bringing frivolous lawsuits, bringing frivolous claims or raising frivolous defenses, frivolous being the operative adjective here, and one that is obviously doggedly relevant to felon Trump. You know, I wouldn't be surprised to see Rule 11 sanctions in this instance. Sometimes it depends on the courage of the judge, and hopefully we get a good assignment here. But this lawsuit, the reason why it's just dumb is it's just pretty much a vanity project for Donald Trump. It is an 85-page screed that basically is just an ass-kissing vehicle for these lawyers to, you know, amplify the crazy hamster in Trump's brain and the work product that the crazy hamster is spinning out. Because the lawsuit begins, and I invite you to look on page 2. Nature of the action. Normally it's just, let me give you a really quick explanation as to what is the basis of this lawsuit. Paragraph 1 includes a graphic of the Electoral College count from the November 2024 election. The guy needs to move on. Putting aside whether or not you believe that he won or not, right? He's currently the president of the United States, and yet he is still so hung up on November 2024. His obsession with Kamala Harris is just rich. But the lawsuit begins with him announcing that he won the 2024 presidential election over Vice President Kamala Harris. But he has to make sure that there are gratuitous adjectives included, that he won in historic fashion, emerging victorious in both the Electoral College and the popular vote, securing a resounding mandate from the American people, end quote. He uses action verbs like trounce and sweep. He uses more adjectives like remarkable, historic, and then he uses adverbs like notoriously. I mean, that is just the first paragraph of this 85-page lawsuit. There's no mandate, people. Let's just dispense with that lie right there. No mandate. But moving on, I'm not even going to waste your time going uber into the weeds in this lawsuit because the ensuing pages are pretty much, again, this kissing of Donald Trump's ass legal filing. And then it goes after and attacks the defendants in this case. So let's go back. So Trump in his individual capacity, which by the way, here's where it's also completely fakakta. It says President Donald J. Trump, an individual. Well, guess what, buddy? If you're not suing in your official capacity, we don't need your title president. Why don't you take that and shove it somewhere where nobody cares? Let's just go Donald J. Trump, an individual. Because frankly, if we're going with titles, it should say convicted felon Donald J. Trump, an individual, as the plaintiff. But let's look and see who he's suing. The New York Times, Suzanne Craig, who we all know and love, incredible investigative journalist and writer. Russ Buettner, somebody who actually wrote a book with Suzanne, who's also an incredible writer. Peter Baker, Michael Schmidt, and Penguin Random House LLC. So Peter Baker and Michael Schmidt, write for the New York Times, as does Suzanne Craig. And Penguin Random House LLC is the publishing company that published Suzanne and Russ's book about Donald Trump. So those are the defendants. And the bottom line is this. Trump is pissy and petty, and he's being a man-child about the fact that he doesn't like the coverage that the New York Times had in the times leading up to the November 2024 election. He doesn't like Suzanne and Russ's book. And so instead of just being a man and, just acknowledging that maybe you're just not everybody's taste, instead of doing that, Trump has decided to bring a lawsuit. Now, ready? Hold on to your pants, because here's what he's claiming: at least 15 billion with a B dollars in economic loss and compensatory damages. Compensatory damages are I've suffered economically in these very distinct, you're able to calculate ways. These numbers reflect the harm that was caused to me because of the defamation that was lodged against me. All of this harm, wah. Now, here's what's crazy, too. Donald Trump thinks that damage to his reputation can be calculated to the tune of $15 billion. It is wild that if this man thinks that he's ever going to be able to prove the causation between what was done in the Times and in this book by these defendants and his reputational harm. Guy's been suffering from reputational harm for decades. And then he claims punitive damages. And as you all know, punitive damages are a lot. Can be a lot of money. Punitive. Let's punish these defendants to serve as a deterrent so other people don't go ahead and do more defamation of Donald Trump. You know how Donald Trump knows about punitives, right? E. Jean Carroll. E. Jean Carroll successfully sued his ass and not only got economic damages, compensatory damages, but she also got punitive damages against Donald Trump. So he knows to the tune of $83.3 million what defamation can cost. But unlike E. Jean Carroll, because E. Jean actually had a real lawsuit with real lawyers like Robbie Kaplan, Donald Trump has brought this waste of space, time, and killing of trees. So it's a 2-count lawsuit. It sounds in defamation in both counts. And just claims they said bad shit about me. Literally. I don't even have to make it sound fancier. Trump is complaining, saying that his candidacy was harmed in some way, and that his reputation as a successful businessman has been disparaged. And let's be specific here. He's saying, quote, the articles and the book that was published by the defendants specifically was designed to try and damage President Trump's business, personal, and political reputation, end quote. Something that man does, as in destruction of his business, personal, and political reputations, that man does it all on his own. Donald Trump is the king of lying down, spitting up in the air when it comes to damaging his reputation in all of those different spaces. But he wants to blame the Times and the individual defendants, which is bullshit. He says he has suffered, quote, enormous economic losses and damage to his professional and occupational interests. And again, he wants damages of at least $15 billion. That's compensatory alone. It does not include his to-be-determined claim for punitive damages. Let's pause here for a hot second. As you all know, having been subscribers to this channel and us having been together for a while, discovery is a beautiful thing when it comes to defamation lawsuits. You know, defamation lawsuits also are like, what is it, the Streisand effect? Is that what that's called? It's like, you want to complain about the things that were said about you allegedly that were defamatory. You're going to bring a lawsuit. So you're actually going to bring more attention to the defamation, the alleged defamation. And then the discovery process is going to ensue where you have to sit for a deposition, normally with somebody like Trump, videotaped under oath deposition. And the discovery is going to include correspondence, et cetera, or whatever, right? And if Trump thinks that it's one-sided, meaning the discovery is only going to go from the people he's suing to him, he's wrong. It's going to include him. And we all know what that man thinks and what he says. Because guy has no filter. Guy has no filter. Trump just says whatever the fuck he wants to say. And we know the shit that he says harms his own reputation. Alrighty. His lawsuit also claims that the defendants intentionally timed the publication of the articles in the books at the height of election season to inflict maximum electoral damage against President Trump. The guy won. And again, whether you believe it or not, the guy is currently sitting as the president of the United States. So this idea that he had some maximum damage that impacted him, where are your damages? What's your injury, buddy? Did you lose? I think you should have lost. I didn't vote for you. But what are your injuries? What's your damages here? Because by the way, in law, you can make the allegations all you want, but you got to prove causation that the statements that are allegedly defamatory or the conduct that is allegedly defamatory has to be the cause, the causation, the cause of the injuries you have sustained. Putting aside whether you can actually make that and prove that causal link to satisfy the burden of proof here, you still have to prove damages. This guy being able to prove his damages, wild. And where should we have been able to show as precedent that he's not able to prove his damages when it comes to defamatory actions? We should have been able to look at the lawsuit that he brought for defamation against CBS/Paramount. But oh no, because Paramount was so desperate to get approval for its merger with Skydance, Paramount decided to settle that lawsuit that Trump brought for alleged defamation against 60 Minutes and CBS and decided to pay Donald Trump. What? How much? I'm sorry, I forgot. Oh yeah, $16 million. No discovery, no depositions, no benefit to us as American people. But yeah, great, right? And oh, what else did he do? I forgot this one too. No, I didn't. He also sued ABC News. Remember the statements that were made by George Stephanopoulos? Sued ABC News instead of ABC fighting it. Oh, yet another huge corporate media conglomerate decided to do what? Take the knee and settle for $15 million plus $1 million for Trump's legal fees. Again, no benefit of any of that discovery process. No depositions of Donald Trump. It's too bad for the New York Times, but the New York Times is fighting back. In a statement, the New York Times said the following: "This lawsuit has no merit." I would tend to agree with that statement. "It lacks any legitimate legal claims." Again, I agree. "And instead is an attempt to stifle and discourage independent reporting. The New York Times will not be deterred by intimidation tactics. We will continue to pursue the facts without fear or favor and stand up for journalists' First Amendment right to ask questions on behalf of the American people." We also know that pending down here in the Southern District of Florida is a lawsuit that Trump brought against the Wall Street Journal. For what? For that birthday book card that we have now seen is real and exists. And I covered that at length last week here on the Katie Phang News channel if you want to check that video out, because I talk about a lot of the details that went into that. So the lawsuit does delve into 3 specific New York Times articles. One of them is an adaptation of the book by Suzanne and Russ that deals with how the producers of The Apprentice, that reality TV show for Donald Trump, helped fuel his rise to the presidency. Trump actually says, no, in fact, I was already a star and I was amazing before The Apprentice. Then the other one is also a complaint about Peter Baker's article from October of 2024 about how no major party presidential candidate has ever been accused of wrongdoing as much as Donald Trump. Factual. And then an October article by Mike Schmidt based on interviews with John Kelly, the former general who was one of Trump's chief of staffs and Trump 1.0, who warned that Trump might rule like a dictator if he were reelected. Okay, Trump actually touted with pride that that's exactly what he was going to be doing if he got reelected. Again. Also, the lawsuit alleges that the endorsement of Kamala Harris by the editorial board of the New York Times was in a location that had never been seen before, and that was a problem. I mean, again, the lawsuit is bullshit, people. That's a legal concept. The lawsuit is bullshit. It should be dismissed. I'd be stunned if it's not. But let's be a little bit more serious quickly before you and I part ways. Today, we heard Donald Trump say the following. Take a listen.
And what do you make of Pam Bondi's saying she's going to go after hate speech? Is that, I mean, a lot of your allies say hate speech is free speech.
You probably go after people like you because you treat me so unfairly. It's hate. You have a lot of hate in your heart. Maybe they'll come after ABC. Well, ABC paid me $16 million recently for a form of hate speech, right? your company paid me $16 million for a form of hate speech, so maybe they'll have to go after you. Look, we want everything to be fair. It hasn't been fair. And the radical left has done tremendous damage to the country, but we're fixing it. We have right now the hottest country anywhere in the world. And remember, 1 year ago, our country was dead. And now Washington, D.C. is fixed, and I fixed it. The mayor was fine. The mayor was just fine.
Trump, putting aside acting like a juvenile right now and like a petulant child, that is the president of the United States threatening a member of our independent fourth estate. That is him threatening a member of the press at ABC News, not only disparaging his character, the reporter's character, but also threatening to go after that reporter. The First Amendment it's amazing. It has no teeth, only if Donald Trump thinks that it should have teeth. So people like Donald Trump and people like J.D. Vance, Stephen Miller, Charlie Kirk, and others, they can say whatever they want and they can do whatever they want, right? But then when you try to say something that either questions the legitimacy, the veracity of those statements, you're being accused of being a bad person. Like, you should not have the ability to be able to use the First Amendment as a sword and a shield to be able to not only obtain information, but do it maybe to find the truth for the American people. Well, now Trump officials are vowing that they're going to crack down on non-governmental organizations, NGOs, that they allege are funding, quote, terrorist networks. Not terrorists, like the ones that we should be focusing on. Domestic terrorists, like, the ones that did the insurrection at January 6th, right? That stormed the U.S. Capitol, smeared feces at our U.S. Capitol and tried to kill law enforcement. No, we're not going to focus on those domestic terrorists, right? Or the Ku Klux Klan or the white supremacists. We're not going to do that. We're also not going to be focusing on the terrorist networks that are trying to infiltrate the United States from outside of our borders. Our foreign enemies, right? We're not doing that. We're going to focus on the non-governmental organizations, that are, quote, liberal because they are helping to, let me get this straight, have organized campaigns as a vast domestic terrorist movement. Because Stephen Miller thinks that we need to identify, disrupt, dismantle, and destroy those networks. Quote, it will happen and we will do it in Charlie's name. It is not just Stephen Miller. It is also the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance. Now, let me tell you something. What is incredibly insincere about J.D. Vance is that guy went to law school. That guy went to law school. He knows what the First Amendment is. He also knows that all of this is bullshit. These allegations that liberal NGOs are having organized campaign of terror. I think it's so convenient, though, that they don't even mention, right? They don't even acknowledge the fact that Melissa Horseman and her husband and her dog died at the hands of a Republican who had a hit list with just Democrats on it, right? They don't talk about that. They don't talk about the firebombing of Governor Josh Shapiro's home during a religious holiday as a member of the Jewish faith. They don't talk about that, do they? They don't even bring up, frankly, the shooting of Gabby Giffords anymore. But one bad act, which is horrible, by the way, in and of itself, that one bad act that occurred to Charlie Kirk last week, suddenly that is being held up as a beacon, as the gospel. Literally, the guy is being martyred right now. He's being compared to Martin Luther King. Glenn Beck says that Charlie Kirk, civil rights icon, just like Martin Luther King. Funny thing is, Charlie Kirk would not have wanted to break bread with Martin Luther King for very obvious reasons, no? We need to continue to call out the hypocrisy. These attempts at censorship, these attempts of pretending like the First Amendment only works for me, but not for thee, that hypocrisy always needs to be called out. Because when we fail to do so, we cede ground to the absurdity, the illegality, the hysteria. We allow this to happen when we do not fight back. And look, they're getting even more organized about it, right? I'm going to read a letter to you, dated September 11th, last week. September 11th, 24 years ago, when our country was united against a foreign enemy. 24 years later, Republicans send this letter wherein they are asking that the House of Representatives be able to form a select committee on, quote, the money, influence, and power behind the radical left's assault on America and the rule of law. And they go through and they actually name check certain organizations and people like George Soros and the Southern Poverty Law Center, etc. But this is what's crazy. Quote, we can no longer pretend to be bound together by shared ideals when a well-funded vitriolic cadre of our fellow Americans and foreign interests are at war with the very values of faith in God, fidelity to our Constitution, and respect for the principles of liberty and Western civilization that define us as Americans, including notably the free speech practiced and exemplified by Charlie Kirk, end quote. Okay, number one. This total co-opting of this idea of Christianity and God and faith as being something that is exclusive to the Republicans is disgusting. That in and of itself is sacrilege, because that is not the true tenets and teachings of God. Don't trust me? Go to church. Go to the temple. Go to wherever you need to go to be able to learn that that is not what Christianity and that is not what the tenets of God truly stand for. God doesn't promote hate. Fidelity to our Constitution, yet another joke. Republicans are showing fidelity to the United States Constitution because due process, again, only applies for those of us that are white, but doesn't apply to those of us that are brown or black or some other Asian, frankly, right? I mean, it doesn't make a difference, right? Fidelity to the Constitution is only convenient if you're a Republican, because God forbid you try to invoke that concept if you're a liberal or a Democrat, because then that doesn't work, according to these people. Respect for the principles of liberty, again, not true. And Western civilization. By the way, that's in capital W and a capital C that define us as Americans. Western civilization. That's not even just code. That's a fucking dog whistle. Western civilization? What is that? Is that you? Why'd you use the word Western? You should have just used the word white. White civilization. You know, they're not subtle. Got to give him credit for that, I guess, right? Just like Donald Trump wasn't subtle when he said what he would do, his retribution presidency. We knew he was going to do that. And we've been sounding the alarm bells for a long time. October 18th, people, No Kings Day 2.0. Go to nokings.org. Folks, we have to let this administration know that we will not be cowed. We will not be scared. We will not be backed into a corner. I said this last weekend at the Human Rights Campaign. I said, the right, the Republicans, they want you to be dumb and they want you to feel downtrodden. And when I say dumb, they only want you to get the truth through their lens, through their filter. But that's when people like us in independent media, we step up to the plate. And these threats against, the media, we don't have corporate overlords that are telling us what to do here. And as for feeling downtrodden, you are being treated like the others. Because that's what they want you to feel like. They want to feel like you are excluded. But you're not. There's more of us than there are of them. Trust me. I know and you know. Be mad, be outraged, demand accountability, call out the hypocrisy. Be strong. I'm here. Katie Phang here. We launched the Katie Phang News Channel in partnership with the Midas Touch Network so we could bring you the latest in legal and political news. Straight, no chaser. So if you're a fellow truth teller, hit that subscribe button and share the word about this channel so we can build a high information America together. Hi, I am a special guest. This is a totally not what you would expect Katie Phang News Channel moment, but I am able to spend a special weekend with one of my best friends, Jean Carroll, who I know you all love. So I figured if we're together, we might as well hang out. I will apologize for some of the ambient noise already, but we just wanted to hang out a little bit and I wanted to be able to share some time with you. So Jean Carroll, say hi to everybody.
Well, I'm so happy to be here. And you should see how cute Katie looks in her little workout clothes. She has got one of the great bodies.
Oh,
trust me.
We don't tune in to the Katie Phang News Channel.
That's what we need, that kind of news.
Well,
that's a headline.
But so it's funny because one of the things I wanted to ask you about, Jean, was this. What are the chances of us getting you back to an Ask Jean? I mean, I know we have one with Substack in your newsletter, but I want us to get back to the things that for a lot of us matter, the real advice that you would give. There's existential crises all the time. It's important, but we need to get to the real shit. I need to know what to do with my life, Jean.
I have spent, I did 27 years writing the advice column.
I know, and it's been great advice. Thank you.
I go back and I look at that.
Yeah, for good things.
Every once in a while, I go back and I look at those old columns, and I think, that stinks. That's the worst advice I've ever heard.
But it was relevant advice at the time, though, wasn't it, though?
Well, see, yeah. if you're from outer space and you land on Earth and you have no idea how humans operate, just read an advice column, because it's the passion, the hatred, the love, the curiosity of what people's purpose in life is. It's all right there, not in the headlines. It's in the advice columns. It's really
Okay, so I want to ask Eugene, how is it possible that you are indefatigable? You have been through the ringer, my friend, in so many different ways. Number one, I do uplift you as you're the only one so far who has kicked the ever-living shit out of the orange turd. Number one. Twice. And we do have to honor our lovely friend, Robbie Kaplan, for being one of like the true warriors of justice.
Yes.
But my ask, Eugene, is this: how do you keep this level of just perseverance? Because it really is tough some days to get up, put just your two freaking feet through your pant legs and just keep going.
This is a private joke with Katie, because she calls me at 11 o'clock this morning and says, "What are you doing?" I am just dragging my withered carcass out of bed. Then I crawl.
If that's withered carcass, it's looking pretty good there, my friend.
Here's your question. You know what? I am on this earth to grab the joy as it's happening. I am loving my life. I see life as a comedy. I understand a lot of bad stuff is going on right now. But I see it as, this is going to sound strange, all working out. All working out. And a lot of it is very funny, Katie. A lot of it is very funny.
So you're finding the humor then? Yeah. Is it the humor that I'm supposed to be finding? When you say joy, you're sucking the joy.
I'm sucking the joy out of this, I'll tell you right now.
Of course you are.
I'm saying, yes, there's a lot of thickness, darkness, hideosity going on.
Is that a word? Hideosity?
I don't know, but
it.
I think we just like.
I think I like it.
But if we do not despair, if we grab the joy, if we enjoy just this minute, because our eggs are arriving.
Your poached eggs.
And I am going to love this minute.
Eggs,
I'm going to love this minute. I'll go back to worrying what's going on. I will go back to taking action.
Do you ever worry?
I don't worry a lot.
And how are you doing this? Are you compartmentalizing? Like, how are you doing this?
I'm
Because I worry all the time.
I'm aware.
That's why I get all the gray hair. I worry all the time.
No, I'm aware of what's going on.
That's why I have to wear the reading glasses to see you people. Seriously, like, do you worry?
I worry not so much. It doesn't do any good to worry. What I like to do is to take action. If something's going on I don't like, I take action. I always feel better when I take action.
You're going to do something on No King's Day, October 18th?
No, I'm doing something right now with the paper clips.
Yes, we're not going to, no spoilers, but there are plans. There is plotting that is going on.
Oh, major.
We have been plotting all weekend, and we have plans. But October 18th is coming up. I'm doing something on October 18th, No King's Day 2.0. I have half jokingly, half seriously, though, told my husband the bail bondsman information to have to call to bail my ass out of jail.
Good, Katie.
But I do feel like there is some fear, though, right now, Eugene, that people don't know what to expect if they stand up and they speak out. And you've shown that you can go toe to toe with not only the asshole, but really his loyalists and all of his dumb people that have come after you. Like, you've been brave.
But Katie, we run more of a risk not doing anything. That's where the terrible risk is, not doing anything. You're not running a risk by showing up for No Kings. That is taking action. That is doing something. The risk is sitting on our lazy asses
and not doing
trying
anything.
To forget what's going on and trying to shove it out of our heads. That's the risk.
So you're holding in your hand a paperclip. Explain to everybody why the paperclip has so much significance in meeting.
You see this? It holds people together. It can undo handcuffs.
Yeah, pick some locks.
It can
gotta take that to No King's Day, apparently.
You straighten it out, and it can kill a guy.
Oh yeah, you can weaponize it. Yes.
This is good. You can change your electronics with it. But mainly, this is a symbol of holding things together.
Mm-hmm.
It was used in World War II to show resistance to the Nazis. The people in Norway who couldn't stand that the Nazis had marched in and took over started wearing paper clips. Nazis
So it
couldn't do
originated in Norway.
Yeah, and guess who won? So it symbolizes resistance, and what we have no signal to show each other we're resisting Trump. How do we know? How do I know you're resisting? Well, I know you, but how do we know the people that we're seeing? If you
wear a paperclip, like
Yes.
I don't know if you guys can see, but E-Jean's wearing her paperclip here. I wore one last night when
Yes.
I was with E-Jean.
Yes.
It was from E-Jean, and E-Jean literally now walks around and she's got paperclips in her pockets.
Right.
She had them clipped to her skirt last night, like her
Yeah.
dress. She was wearing a beautiful dress. We were together at a wedding. So
So
I mean,
we just said, okay, the Trumpers have MAGA hats.
yeah, those big
When
ugly
they
red
leave
hats.
the house, they got the hat on. They're a member of a community. They feel like they belong to something. We got nothing.
Okay.
So all we got is this little tiny humble paperclip. When I see somebody at the grocery store wearing a paperclip, we just signal each other and we smile. That means we belong. We have the joy of demonstrating our belonging to the resistance of Donald Trump.
So I don't want to make too much of a pop culture reference, but I will here. Do you remember the Hunger Games trilogy and the books and the
Yeah.
movies? Remember the Mockingbird was like a symbol of the
Yes,
resistance,
exactly.
right?
That's
Okay.
it. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's it.
That's it.
Okay. Okay.
That's it.
So for those
I
of you
love it.
now that didn't know about the paperclips, now you know about the paperclips.
Yes.
So the amazing thing too about paperclips they are ubiquitous. You can find them anywhere.
Yeah.
And although E-Jean is wearing one that's a bright green and the one
Yeah.
she's holding is a bright yellow, it doesn't have to be fancy. Just wearing it somewhere on your person shows a level of unity and solidarity with people that are standing up to fascism.
Yeah.
Let's take a detour. How ridiculous is this that Donald Trump thinks that Antifa is like a thing, that it's like an actual thing? But the real fear though is by allowing this narrative falsely to be propagated, any assistance, quote unquote, given to Antifa. So it's not really Antifa that's the real target. It's any people that are helping to fight back are going to be targeted now by this administration.
Have a sip of coffee, because you just asked me what I thought Donald Trump was thinking. I have no idea. I have no
You did
idea.
kick his ass.
But I do know this is a powerful, powerful movement. This could be a powerful. Powerful.
So you just said something I thought was kind of interesting then. So maybe we're expending too much energy focusing on trying to figure out and discern what those assholes on the other side are thinking. Yeah. And maybe we should stop spending that much time and energy, and maybe we should focus our energy on us and what we're doing.
That's it. No,
Amen,
that's
sister.
it. That's it. We've got to stop thinking about what he's thinking about. He's the most powerful man in the world.
Even though he's the dumbest, incompetent bully in the world.
I disagree. I think he's very smart.
See, I am welcoming the criticism on this. It's been like a big, no, I'm a big girl. So it's been a big bone of contention. I just don't think he's book smart. I don't think he's street smart. Ruth Ben-Ghiat has corrected me. She says that he has perfected, though, the dictator art. Why do you think he's smart?
Because he became president of the United States twice. You cannot be stupid and become president of the United States after going bankrupt 6 times. It's an impossible thing.
But is it him or is it the people around him?
Well, that's Mary Trump's theory. Mary Trump's theory is he is a myth. It's basically an empty sort of guy, but surrounded by people that are so powerful because they believe in the myth of him. He's become almost like a religion. This is not me. This is
cult.
Mary.
It's a cult.
Yeah. So they attribute to him all
like
the
mythical powers.
Yes,
right?
Of a god, of Zeus. He has the power of the thunderbolt, etc., etc. So yes, that's Mary's thinking. It's not him. It's the people who think he has the power. I disagree. I think he's one of the smartest guys, maybe, of the 20th and 21st century.
Well, that's why Ruth Ben-Ghiat was saying, to your point, he matches the energy of dictators and autocrats, that they're able to manipulate. I guess I'm a little bit conventional in my definition of smart, and I need to be a little bit more forward thinking about it. I concur. He does have a charisma, and he also has an ability to manipulate people into doing what he wants. But I think
he has empathy. He read the poor people of this country way better than the Democrats.
Touché.
He saw them. He saw them. We thought we saw them. He saw them, Katie.
Because they felt disaffected, unheard, unseen. But here's the thing that I struggle though. They are primarily the people that are being impacted the worst though by the Republican policies though.
Yes.
So we need to lead them down the path to righteousness.
Katie. Yes.
To do.
You would be a good person to lead them down the path. I know you do it every day in and day out.
Well, I appreciate that.
No, and if she's constant, Katie and I talked last night. I feel like your viewers are my friends.
Well, they are. They're not used to us doing this, but this is fun.
I can't believe that Katie travels so much.
I do.
Her heart is so inflamed with what's going on. The girl's on a plane constantly. I saw her poor husband last night, who, by the way, is hot. Let me tell you.
It's tall, atypical content for this channel.
Striking, really personable. Sweet
but what did he
guy.
say? He said he married up, though, E.G.
He did say he married up. He said, I knew what I was getting into.
He said he
That's
married
what
up.
he said. Yeah, that's right.
Well, it's so.
So anyway, she travels all the time. She's rarely home. And when she's home, we're not home now. We're in a restaurant. Look, we're having breakfast. What are we doing? Katie is working.
Well, I'm calling in a chit, so you and I can hang out for this channel.
No, I'm calling it a chit.
Well, look, I will say this though, because we'll wrap up so we can eat. I'm only able to do this because of people like you. I've explained this here and on Substack and other places. My circle has gotten smaller and smaller.
Yes. Tell me about this. This is fascinating.
Because I feel like we have to protect ourselves. Like there's a certain measure of self-preservation that has to happen. And in order to protect myself so I can have the bandwidth to go and travel and to fight and to be who I am, I need to be more cautious about where I'm expending my energy. And so people like you and Mary and Joyce give me, and Ellen and others, give me the energy, and my husband and my family give me this energy, and the people that tune in to believe not only in what I'm doing, but to also make me feel like I'm directly rewarded for putting in all of the effort.
Because you began open, welcoming everybody. And boy, everybody, you trusted them. You loved your followers. You trusted your followers.
They're always great.
Some of that did not turn out well.
People are... I'm learning that there's a measure of selfishness that I naively, I guess, and I've been on this planet for a long time too, but I honestly do believe in the best of people, and I think I've been a little naive on that. But what's fascinating is just because my circle's getting smaller doesn't mean that my love for this country and for people and for the ideas.
Explain why your circle is getting smaller.
Because I don't trust as many people, because I am finding that I am getting burned, not because people are directly betraying E.G., but I'm seeing one of the things that happened was after the Charlie Kirk stuff, I saw people posting stuff in memoriam and to like celebrate, his life. And I'm like, no. And these are people that I thought were my friends. These are people that I thought were relatively apolitical in some ways. And then I saw that and I'm like, you know what? I can't, I cannot feel like that is happening where I am putting energy into that relationship. And so I've unfollowed, blocked, and just kind of like cut that out of my life. Well, it really isn't, it's incising, it's taking away things that are cancerous in your life.
You have to be careful, because when you say I'm putting my energy into that, you are...
I literally put my energy into stuff.
You are a fiery person. You explode with sparks over ideas and things that you love and people that you like. Sparks come right out of your eyes. And so you got a husband because you can't do that with everybody, Katie.
That's true.
Come on in.
Oh.
Thank
Good.
you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So everybody, this is E.G.'s food. We're going to say bye, but before we go, we are saying keep your eyes peeled because there's going to be some big announcements that are going to happen here
Yes.
that we'll do on a Substack Live. Why don't we do that too? We can go to Substack as well. And when we have our grand plan that we are scheming and plotting over this weekend, we will share it with all of you.
It's going to be brilliant.
But I'm going to let Eugene go and eat her delicious food. Thank you, Eugene. I love you.
I love you too, Katie.
And thanks, everybody. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Katie Phang here. We launched the Katie Phang News Channel in partnership with the Midas Touch Network so we could bring you the latest in legal and political news. Straight, no chaser. So if you're a fellow truth teller, hit that subscribe button and share the word about this channel so we can build a high information America together.